I will let everybody in. Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Kausar and I am the tech support for this call. And we have our presenter, Dr. Dorothy Riddle, and she would be presenting this and this presentation is live on Facebook and YouTube. So you can keep your camera on or off, whatever you like. And in the end, if you have any questions or anything, you can always put it in the chat and we'll take, Dorothy will respond to it. Okay, Dorothy, you can take over and start your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. I just want to introduce myself a little bit. I have had osteoarthritis for over 20 years, but it took me until 6 years ago to realize that my difficulty in walking was not a personal problem, but was one that was shared by other people as well. So in 2017, I started the Hidden Mobility Disabilities Alliance. You can see our website address there, and began doing research to understand how widespread limited mobility was. And then we received a 3-year research grant from Accessibility Standards Canada, and the data that's presented today is from that research project, which will be is ongoing until March of 2024. So when I talk about hidden mobility disabilities or HMD or limited mobility, what it means is that I am independently mobile, but I can't walk very far or stand unsupported for more than a short time without serious health consequences. And there are a number of health conditions that can result in this issue. Osteoarthritis, which is what I have, COPD, and heart disease are the most common. So limited mobility itself is the 3rd most common chronic condition in Canada, with hypertension and osteoarthritis itself being slightly more common. It's more common, for example, than diabetes. Our research has shown that 13% of Canadians struggle with limited mobility, but it's not yet addressed in federal accessibility standards. Now, this research that I'm reporting on is funded by Accessibility Standards Canada, and our hope is that at the end of the research, that the recommendations we've made to the changes in accessibility standards will be adopted. The challenges we face are that we appear to be normal. We do walk. We don't usually use a wheeled mobility device. We may not even use a cane on good days, although some people in our research reported using a cane even when they didn't need it, just to signal that they did have a mobility issue. We may have good days where we can walk a longer distance, and then that raises expectations that are unrealistic for what we can do on a regular basis. The accessibility standards, I just want to emphasize right now in Canada focuses only on the mobility issues for the use of a wheeled device. Now you see a little cartoon here. These are by Valerie Ward, just to illustrate the issues. You have the hidden mobility disabilities character there. And what you see is that there's often no pain-free option. It's too far to walk up the ramp that's in place for the wheelchair, and it's too many steps to go up. So how is this person supposed to reach the chronic pain clinic? The health consequences of walking too far are increased joint pain, increased difficulty breathing, walking more slowly until you're almost not moving at all, being immobilized by the pain, which I've certainly experienced. I start out across a distance and then suddenly I just can't walk anymore, and having trouble walking at all the next day. So this raises the question of what's too far. And in our research, we used a standard school bus as a measurement that people could visualize. And what we found is that 15 meters, which is 1.5 school buses approximately, is a comfortable short distance. But when people refer to a short distance, they usually mean 3 school buses. And someone with no issues may even consider 6 school buses to be a short distance. But you might want to, in thinking about distance, if you use this visualization, it may help you understand why people with limited mobility run into difficulties. So the primary personal consequence is restricted community participation or social isolation, which is, of course, was increased with the pandemic. So limited ability to meet my own needs outside of the home, trouble participating in social gatherings where most people are standing. They might put a chair out for me, but it's often in the corner. And then how do I interact with people? And then also problems in engaging in civic activities like voting that require walking and standing. Another personal consequence is having to deal with social pressure to walk too far. And this the need to be a self-advocate can be absolutely exhausting, which I'm sure a number of you are aware of. So people will say things like, it's just over there. Or I go, for example, to pick up my car when it's been serviced, and they point to a place where the car is parked that's well beyond my distance to be able to walk. And even the government, in its common vision, stresses daily walking of more than 15 meters. When we need to walk slowly, other people get irritated. You can see this poor woman with all of these people piling up behind her on the moving sidewalk. Or look at the sign down in the lower right corner. I took a picture of this because I couldn't believe it. Don't walk slow. So here's a little quiz that you can try out. How far can a person with limited mobility usually walk comfortably without increased pain or shortness of breath? And I hope all of you would choose B, 15 meters. Second question, how long can a person with limited mobility comfortably stand unsupported? And if you chose 1 to 2 minutes, then you're correct. Third question, if a person with limited mobility walks twice as far as they can comfortably walk, the usual consequence is that they will have increased pain and increased difficulty walking at all for, and the correct answer is 1 day. The fourth quiz question, what is the most frequent reaction to a person with limited mobility walking slowly? And what we found is that the first is that the person is just ignored. They pretend like there's nobody there having any difficulty. But a close second is to treat the person with anger or irritation, yelling at them to move on, to walk faster, that kind of thing. Unfortunately, the option of asking if the person needs help was way down the list in our research. So limited mobility is what's called a functional limitation, and functional limitations are included in the definition of disability under the Accessible Canada Act. What this means is that the limitation is not in the person, it's from the interaction between one's actual physical ability and public assumptions that anyone who can walk is able to walk at least a block or two. Even when seated service is an option, it may be too far from the office entrance. This is actually a little cartoon, again by Valerie Ward, of my local bank. And you can see that the seated service, which I used to be able to use, is way too far away for me to get there. So how in the world am I supposed to do service at this bank? Well, I'll tell you what the answer is, and that is I have to get somebody else to do it for me. So what's the community participation issue? An accessible environment is one that where one is able to participate fully in all aspects of life. And the limitations or the issues that come up in community participation is the pleasure of meeting new people accidentally. If I was able to walk around my community, I'd be meeting new people, which is a lot of fun. It's very rewarding. Being able to socialize with other people, being able to be outdoors in nature, being able to walk, and enjoy views. The stimulation of participating in community events and being able to contribute through many social roles. Now, in fact, I can be a facilitator, I can be an expert, a negotiator, consensus builder, but when people see that I can't walk very far, they often see that as limiting these other roles. And we know that being able to participate actively in a community enhances one's self-esteem and life satisfaction, and therefore overall health. The primary physical challenges are attending events where everyone stands. I don't know about your community, but in my community, there are these community consultation events, and on walls, they put up different things that you're supposed to consider, and everybody mills around walking. Well, that's a very difficult kind of event for me to participate in. Having to stand in line for service. By the time I get to the door of someplace like a bank or the pharmacy or wherever, I've already walked too far, and then there's a line that I have to stand in. Shopping at a supermarket or a mall is just a non-event for me. I can't do it. Check-in counters that are more than 15 meters from an entrance, using public transportation, entering buildings with distant parking. So all of these are challenges. Here's another little illustration. Is this really a walkable city? It says, you can see the sign down there, proud winner, most walkable city, 10-minute walks. Well, that's way too far. Look at how far away the destination is, and not at all clear how I would have support to actually get there. What are the primary emotional challenges? This is something that's often overlooked in public discussions, but is a very real issue. The first is the need to ingratiate yourself with somebody else to ensure goodwill. I need other people to be willing to help me. So even if I feel tired, irritable, or in pain, I need to make nice, right? Have them like me. The tension of constant self-advocacy, where I have to keep saying, no, that's too far. I can't walk that far. Will you bring the service to me? The pressure of guilt tripping. I used to fly a lot for business before the pandemic, and I would be in the situation where I had already signed up for wheelchair assistance, but the crew would want me to just walk to the top of the jetway. Not a possibility. And they would be really angry if I wouldn't, because as I came to know, they couldn't leave the plane until all passengers had left. Having to insist on being addressed directly when I'm in a wheelchair and somebody's pushing me, then other people tend to talk to the pusher. Or being ignored when I'm asking for help if I don't have a mobility aid. In our research, one person said that she always uses a cane, even when she doesn't need it, but just to signal that she might need help. And then dealing with passive aggressive responses. This is a real life one where I was trying to get my assistants to get off the plane, and it wasn't happening. And the staff person said, if you want faster help, you can fly a different airline. Not a helpful response. Some of the ways to improve accessibility is to ensure easy use of cars. Now, this is in some places in my city, for example, those concerned about the environment, which I'm concerned about too, but what they want to do is decrease car use and block off streets to car traffic. That means I can't use that particular, any of the services that are on that particular street. Require walking for no more than 15 meters before encountering seating. This is limited mobility is actually one of the easiest disabilities to support. All you have to do is to put frequent seating options around. But one of the pieces of feedback we've gotten is that people are afraid that that the homeless will sleep on them, so they don't want to have benches around. Replace waiting lines with numbers plus seating. So the door, you take a number, you sit until you're called. Or provide seating at building entrances, because by the time I've walked to the entrance from parking, I'm probably well beyond 15 meters. And some bench or some kind of seating just inside the entrance to sit and rest for a moment is great. Seating while waiting for elevators, which don't always come immediately. Every 15 meters along long corridors or large halls, or seating for public consultations. What our alliance is focused on is raising awareness regarding the accessibility issues that face those with limited mobility, and then educating the public about how to meet the needs of those with limited mobility, and advocating for persons with limited mobility. The project, the HMD project, which is the government funding from Accessibility Standards Canada, is to help Accessibility Standards Canada address the barriers faced by those with limited mobility in support of Canada becoming barrier-free by 2040, as is stated in the Accessible Canada Act. So, as an alliance, we can be your partner in addressing access barriers. We have survey data on limited mobility since 2017, if that's helpful to you. We have research on attitudes towards those with limited mobility and how to address them. We have tools to assist in ensuring accessibility for those with limited mobility, and we have audit frameworks available for evaluating barriers for those with limited mobility. You can find out more about us at limitedmobilitydisabilities.com. And you can reach us by email at alliance@hiddenmobilitydisabilities.com. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you today. And if anybody has questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Sandra?
Hi, yeah. I'm so glad to find you guys. I had no idea you existed. I was born with scoliosis and I always had mobility challenges, but like I'm now in my late 50s and I find that it had progressed. Not only I have arthritis, my left knee often gives me a lot of complication as far as getting up from the chair, which takes me a while, or on a bus, but also walking. Um, there's a lot of factors I have that I can relate to this. I actually had to resign from my job. I was a support worker and I was with them for almost 9 years. But prior to that, I knew if I had to accompany a client resident to an appointment, I wouldn't be able to walk a distance like a regular normal walker would. Even I knew like 10 minutes was a little too much for me.
Mm-hmm.
And also like packing things around. So for me with scoliosis, osteoporosis, and arthritis, I use a walking pole or a hiking pole.
Mm-hmm.
And I have one now because my other one got worn down. So I have to invest in another one. One of the things I notice is they should be covered for us instead of us having to pay for it. And it's affordable, but for people that don't have it, that are people with disability, may not be able to afford it. For myself, I'm on EI sickness benefits. So, a little bit of a higher income. But I am very grateful. I did sign up. I wish to be more a part of it. I totally can relate to a lot of these issues. One thing that I experienced, I was in Vegas and a few years back before COVID, and when I was walking and I heard that lady behind me, like, really? Like, oh my God, like, I knew she was, referring to me because she just got frustrated with me because I couldn't walk fast. And I was
Exactly.
walking for hours, like, because I love sightseeing around. And I knew that my mobility was starting to get less and I was taking advantage of what I have. And it is hard on me emotionally, mentally, because it takes away your freedom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I'm a part of a national group in Ottawa, Dawn Canada, and I will be talking about this as I don't know how many people are aware of this organization. I had no idea you existed, and I'm so glad that I signed up. But I'm wondering, like, how can we make it more accessible, more affordable for people that are living below the poverty line?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm okay, but I'm like eventually, I'm going to retire. Well, I am retired, but I'm going to be a senior in a few years. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to think about that. And I'm a
Mm-hmm.
mother of 4 children and they understand, but I have to sometimes remind them,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm not 20 anymore. I can't move fast like I used to.
Thank you, Sandra, very much. This is
Yeah.
exactly why we're trying to get information out so that people are aware that walking is not always easy for people.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that I attended this.
Good.
I plan to be more I can understand about the core members and the supporting members. Can you explain what those are for us?
Sure. A core member is someone who is actively involved in the administration
Okay.
and work of the Alliance. And supporting members are persons who want to support the issue, but there's not a requirement that they be so actively involved. So basically, the core members are the board of directors right now.
Right, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, I'm so glad. I look forward to getting more familiar with you guys, and I would love to be more active with you guys.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you.
Yes, you're
Yeah.
welcome.
Rashish, did you want to say something?
Thank you so much for the session. I was getting a lot of knowledge. I am one of the members of Connector Society, and I'm new to such classes and all that. So I was just curious and, learning a lot of informations and the stigma all related with this hidden mobility disabilities and all that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else have questions?
I think there are only two people, Dorothy. So yeah, it was really a nice presentation, a lot of new things to learn.
Thank you.
And I think we can end the call.
Okay. Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much.